Have you ever noticed how some people do not insult you because you are weak, they insult you because the room is watching? That is the part nobody tells you. Public humiliation is rarely just emotion. It is theater. It is social positioning. It is a cheap performance by people who need an audience to feel tall. And in a culture built on noise, outrage, and fake confidence, the person who humiliates you often looks powerful for a moment. The crowd laughs. The room shifts. Your chest gets tight. Your mind goes blank. Then later, when the moment is gone, the replay begins. You think of the line you should have said. The look you should have given. The version of yourself that would have taken control of the room. But here is the truth this video is going to make painfully clear: respect is almost never won in the moment of humiliation. It is won in what you do after. In this video, I am going to walk you through 7 ruthless but grounded ways to regain respect after someone has publicly tried to make you small. Not fake positivity. Not moral grandstanding. Not, just ignore it, in the shallow way people say when they have never lived through it. We are going deeper than that. We are going to talk about how status really works, why social humiliation cuts so deeply, how manipulative people use group energy against you, and how a calm, disciplined response can quietly reverse the entire power dynamic. And stay with me until the end, because the final point is the one most people avoid. It is also the point that determines whether people will keep testing you, or never try it again. Because the real question is not, how do I get them back? The real question is, how do I become the kind of person they can no longer play with? Let's begin. 1. Let your results do the talking they were hoping your emotions would do. There is a scene a lot of people know too well, even if the details are different. You are in a room that should feel safe enough. Maybe it is a friend group. Maybe coworkers. Maybe extended family. Maybe some loose social circle where everyone is smiling just enough to hide what they really think. You say something a little awkward. You misspeak. You make a small mistake. Nothing dramatic. The kind of thing any decent person would let pass. But then someone sees an opportunity. And if you pay attention, it is usually the same kind of person. Loud, polished, overly relaxed. The kind of person who survives on timing, sarcasm, and social aggression disguised as humor. They turn your tiny mistake into a moment. They exaggerate it just enough to make people laugh. They raise their voice slightly. They repeat the punchline. They glance around the room to make sure the audience is with them. And just like that, you are no longer part of the group. For a few seconds, you are the stage. What makes it worse is not even them. It is everyone else. The people who laugh too fast. The people who look away so they do not have to choose. The people who can feel something is off, but still go along because cowardice is easier in groups. That is the part that stays with you afterward. Not just the insult. The exposure. The feeling of being reduced in public while other people watched it happen. I remember a moment like that more clearly than I should. It was not a huge event. No dramatic betrayal. Just one of those evenings that was supposed to be light. A few people talking, drinks on the table, everyone pretending they are more relaxed than they are. I made a minor mistake while speaking. Before I could even finish the thought, a guy across from me jumped in, sharpened it into a joke, and delivered it like he had been waiting all night for that exact opening. The room laughed hard enough for me to understand what had just happened. And in that instant, I felt the first impulse most people feel. Hit back. Explain. Correct it. Save face. But I had already lived enough life to know something dangerous. When a disrespectful person humiliates you in public, they are not just attacking your words. They are trying to recruit your nervous system. They want your reaction. They want your anger. They want the proof that they can move you around emotionally in front of witnesses. If you give them that, they win twice. First when they insult you. Second when they control your response. So I gave him nothing. Not because I had no fire. Because I refused to hand it to him. No dramatic comeback. No defensive speech. No performance. Just stillness. And that stillness was not weakness. It was a private decision. I remember thinking, very clearly, you can have this moment. I am taking the future. After that night, I disappeared in the healthiest way possible. I stopped trying to repair the image in other people's minds. I stopped fantasizing about clearing my name. I stopped giving energy to the scene. Instead, I redirected that humiliation into something far more useful than revenge: structure. I woke earlier. I trained harder. I read more carefully. I tightened my schedule. I cut down the habits that were making me soft. I stopped reaching for distraction every time I felt uncomfortable. I stopped performing confidence and started building it. And what changed me most was not the productivity. It was the shift in identity. I stopped living like someone who needed to be understood by the room. I started living like someone who understood himself. That difference matters. Because when people humiliate you publicly, the deepest wound is often not pride. It is disorientation. For a moment, they separate you from your center. They make you feel small in your own mind. Results fix that. Discipline fixes that. Quiet progress fixes that. Not because success makes you superior, but because earned self-respect rebuilds the part of you that public disrespect tried to fracture. Months later, I saw that same person again. He did not have the same energy. The arrogance was still there, but weaker somehow, like a man wearing yesterday's confidence. And then, not long after that, he messaged me. Not to apologize. Men like that rarely apologize cleanly. He messaged me to ask how I had become so focused. How I had changed my habits. How I was moving differently. That was the moment I understood something most people learn too late. Your best comeback is not verbal. It is positional. When your life becomes more ordered, more solid, more disciplined, people can feel it. Even the ones who once laughed. Especially them. Because your growth turns their cheap moment into evidence of how badly they misread you. This is why results matter after humiliation. Not because you are trying to impress them. But because reality speaks louder than wounded pride ever will. Your consistency embarrasses the unserious. Your peace exposes the performer. Your self-command reveals how fragile they were all along. And in a fake society, that is devastating. Because the world rewards appearances for a season. But eventually, substance humiliates performance. So do not chase the room. Do not rehearse imaginary arguments in the shower. Do not try to win back respect with more words than the moment deserves. Build. Let your transformation become the sentence you never had to say. 2. Publicly ignore people who only feel real when they can provoke you. There are some people who do not know how to exist without friction. They cannot feel significant unless they are getting a reaction from someone. So they poke. They tease. They expose. They cross lines and then call it banter. They pass off cruelty as honesty, disrespect as confidence, and manipulation as humor. And because modern social life is full of fake smiles and weak boundaries, people let them do it for far too long. But the truth is simple. When someone humiliates you publicly, they are making a social investment. They are betting that attention is still available to them. They are betting that even after they cross the line, you will still engage. Still acknowledge them. Still orbit the same energy. Still prove that access to you is cheap. That is why being ignored by someone they disrespected can cut deeper than any speech. I knew a man like this years ago. The kind who always had to be the loudest voice in the room. Always had to get the last laugh. He had that polished charm people confuse with confidence, but it was hollow. Every joke had a target. Every conversation was a ranking system. If someone shared something personal, he stored it like ammunition. He was not building connection. He was collecting leverage. One day he used something I had told him privately as a joke in front of other people. It landed. The room reacted. And I watched him do what people like that always do after they hurt you. He kept smiling, but his eyes were not relaxed. He was scanning the room, measuring the effect, looking for confirmation that he had control. I did not argue. I did not say, "That's not funny." I did not give him the emotional payoff he wanted. I just looked at him, expressionless, and let the silence make him sit with himself for 1 second longer than he was comfortable with. Then I was done. And when I say done, I mean done in the way mature people rarely explain to younger people. No scene. No dramatic announcement. No essay about boundaries. No, we need to talk. I simply removed access. No more eye contact. No more easy replies. No more casual warmth. No more social cushioning so he could feel normal around me. People underestimate how powerful this is because they think maturity means endless availability. It does not. Real maturity means you know the difference between forgiveness and access. You can release resentment without reopening the gate. You can move on without pretending what happened was small. Months later, at a gathering, he approached me with that familiar casual tone people use when they want the past to disappear without accountability. "We good now?" he asked, in front of other people, hoping to restore himself publicly the same way he had tried to elevate himself publicly before. I looked through him, not theatrically, not with hatred, just with finality. Then I walked past him. That was it. And the reason that moment was powerful had nothing to do with cruelty. It was powerful because it made one thing visible to everyone in the room: this man no longer had social authority over my attention. That is what people notice. Not the drama. The standard. Publicly ignoring someone who disrespected you works because it breaks the script. The crowd expects noise. Manipulative people expect friction. Society expects you to smooth things over so everyone can stay comfortable. But when you decline all of that, when you make your absence of engagement clean and unmistakable, you force a different truth into the room. You show that being in your presence is not automatic. You show that disrespect has a cost. You show that composure is not passivity. You show that your attention is not a public utility. And that matters in a culture where so many people are rewarded for shamelessness. You do not need to punish everyone. But you do need to teach people, through behavior, what happens when they cross a line with you. Because some people only understand loss. 3. Speak once, with clarity, and never drag your dignity through a second explanation. One of the hardest lessons in adult life is learning that not every misunderstanding deserves a conversation. Some people do not misread you innocently. Some people distort you strategically. They twist your tone, question your motives, or humiliate you in public, then stand back and watch what kind of mess you will make trying to clean it up. They know exactly what they are doing. The more you explain yourself, the more they get to stand in the center of your energy. This is why over-explaining after disrespect is so dangerous. It feels like self-defense, but often it is self-exposure. You start listing context. You start clarifying your intentions. You start trying to sound calm while your body is still burning. And before long, the other person is not the one on trial anymore. You are. I learned this at work. There was a man I dealt with regularly, polished and politically skilled, the kind of person who understood institutions better than principles. In private he was slippery. In meetings he was different. Smooth, confident, always speaking in a way that gave him plausible deniability. Then one day, in front of a room full of people, he took a cheap shot at me. Not outrageous enough to make him look guilty. Just sharp enough to put me on the defensive if I let it. Everyone looked over. That moment stretched. What most people do in a moment like that is panic politely. They begin cleaning up the accusation before it settles. They smile too quickly. They start explaining before they have even decided whether the accusation deserves oxygen. They think they are being mature. What they are really doing is surrendering frame. I did something else. I let the silence settle first. Then I said one sentence, calmly, in a tone that left no room for confusion. If that is honestly how you see it, then I gave you more credit than you deserved. No volume. No speech. No second paragraph. And then I stopped. That matters more than people realize. Not just saying something precise, but refusing to dilute it afterward. Because when you keep talking, you signal uncertainty. When you say one clean sentence and let it hang, you signal conclusion. The room changed immediately. He tried to smile it off. He tried to soften it. He looked around for support. But the weight had already moved. Not because I humiliated him back. Because I refused to perform weakness for the room. This is what speaking once does. It gives your words mass. It communicates self-possession. It denies manipulative people the chaos they were hoping to trigger. And it tells everyone watching that you are not trying to be believed by force. You trust the truth enough not to wrestle for it. This is especially important in the modern world, where so much communication is excessive. Endless texting. Endless clarifying. Endless emotional paperwork. People write paragraphs to those who have already shown they do not respect them. They post vague messages online hoping the right people will decode their pain. They talk to mutual friends, trying to fix a narrative that was never theirs to manage. Do not do that to yourself. Say what must be said once. Make it clear. Make it direct. Make it impossible to confuse with begging. Then let silence do the rest. Silence after clarity is powerful because it reveals who was acting in good faith and who was not. People with character will understand. People without character will unravel. They will keep talking. Keep rationalizing. Keep trying to reclaim control. And every extra word from them will expose the insecurity beneath their performance. There is a quiet authority in being understood without chasing understanding. That is not arrogance. That is self-respect. The strongest people I have known were not the most talkative. They were the ones who knew how to draw a line with one sentence and then live as though the line mattered. That is what you do the next time someone questions your character, distorts your intentions, or humiliates you in public. Do not bark. Do not flood the room. Do not drag your dignity through multiple rounds of explanation. Say it once. Then close the door so completely that the echo becomes their problem, not yours. 4. Use humor carefully, not to entertain the room, but to expose what the room is pretending not to see. Now let me say this carefully, because this point can be misunderstood. Humor is not always the answer. Not every moment calls for a clever line. Not every attack deserves wit. And not everyone can deliver humor under pressure without sounding defensive, bitter, or forced. But when it is done well, calm humor can do something very few responses can do. It can reverse humiliation without making you look emotionally hijacked. That is why it is powerful. The wrong kind of humor tries too hard. It is loud, theatrical, eager for applause. The right kind is controlled. Light touch. Minimal effort. It says, without saying it directly, I see exactly what you are doing, and I am still not under you. I was in a meeting once where a colleague decided to question my understanding of a client issue in front of everyone. Not because he needed clarity. Because he wanted a visible advantage. People like that can smell moments where the group is tired, uncertain, or ready for a small sacrifice. They know humiliation often gets laundered as professionalism. So he took his shot in a polished tone. Maybe we should slow down, he said, smiling, just so everyone can catch up. The line was designed well. Clean enough to pass as harmless. Sharp enough to frame me as the one out of depth. I paused. I could feel the room waiting to see whether I would defend myself. That waiting is important. Social rooms are always asking, silently, who has the stronger nervous system here? So I smiled and said, that is fair. We can use your pace as the benchmark. Nothing more. A few people laughed. A few pretended not to. And the meeting moved on. What made that line effective was not that it was devastating. It was that it was light. No visible injury. No emotional leakage. No desperation. It reframed the moment and then refused to feed it. That is the kind of humor that works after humiliation. The kind that exposes insecurity without looking like you needed to win. Because let's be honest. Most public humiliators are not deeply powerful people. They are anxious people who learn to weaponize timing. They strike first because they are terrified of not being seen. They dominate conversations because silence would force them to meet themselves. They embarrass others because real self-worth is harder to build than borrowed status. Humor, used properly, reveals that. It says, your attack was transparent. It says, I am not shocked by you. It says, the room can now see what you thought only you understood. But this only works if you stay within discipline. No ranting. No overdoing it. No trying to destroy them in front of everybody like some internet fantasy. The most powerful humorous response is usually one sentence, almost tossed away. Like dusting something off your shoulder. Then you continue. That continuation matters. Because the true signal of power is not that you can strike. It is that you do not get stuck in the strike. And if no line comes to you in the moment, good. Let it go. Calm is still stronger than forced cleverness. A lot of people hear advice like this and think the point is to become dangerous with words. That is not the point. The point is to become difficult to destabilize. A subtle line can help with that. But the deeper principle is emotional leverage. You are not there to entertain the room or prove you are smarter. You are there to remain unowned in a moment designed to own you. That is the standard. Not applause. Not dominance theater. Control. 5. Cut off the people who laughed because betrayal always teaches you more than the insult itself. When you get humiliated publicly, the loudest wound usually comes from the person who did it. But the deeper wound often comes later, when you remember who else was there. Who laughed too hard? Who looked away? Who went quiet to protect their own comfort? Who chose social safety over simple decency? This matters because humiliation is rarely a one-person event. It is usually a group moment. One person delivers the line. The crowd legitimizes it. That is why it hurts more than a private insult. It reveals, in real time, who values your dignity and who values their position in the room. I learned this years ago in college. A friend of mine, or at least someone I thought of as a friend, made a joke about my financial situation in front of other people. It was one of those truths you tell someone in private because you trust them not to use it as public material. He said it casually, almost playfully, but loud enough for everyone to hear. People laughed. And what burned was not just him. It was the faces next to him. People I had sat with. People I had helped. People I had defended. People who knew enough about my life to understand that he had crossed a line. They laughed anyway. That was one of the clearest lessons of my life. Not about cruelty. About allegiance. People reveal their place in your life most clearly when it becomes socially expensive to stand beside you. Anyone can look loyal when there is no cost. Anyone can smile with you when the room is warm. But when the room turns, even for a moment, you learn who has spine and who simply has proximity. I did not explode. I did not confront the whole group. I did not try to make them understand how disappointed I was. I just made a note, the kind that only adulthood teaches you how to make: these people are not safe. Then I changed my behavior accordingly. No more real access. No more private openness. No more automatic inclusion. No more treating shared history as proof of loyalty. And here is the cold part. Most of them knew exactly why. That is why they rarely came back with direct questions. People often understand the meaning of distance better than the meaning of words. This step is essential after humiliation because weak boundaries corrupt your self-respect from the inside. If you keep people close after they have shown they enjoy, excuse, or tolerate your public disrespect, you train yourself to normalize betrayal. And once that becomes normal, everything gets blurry. You start doubting whether you are too sensitive. You start minimizing what happened. You start telling yourself they did not mean it. You start making excuses for people who were perfectly comfortable watching your dignity become entertainment. No. Laughter is information. Silence is information. Cowardice is information. Take it seriously. You do not need to turn bitter. You do not need to become paranoid. But you do need to become discerning. Because one of the most expensive mistakes adults make is confusing familiarity with loyalty. The people who laugh with the person humiliating you are showing you something very important, what they protect when pressure enters the room. And if the answer is not your dignity, then they do not belong in your inner life. Here is another truth nobody likes to admit. Observers take notes. When people see that someone can disrespect you publicly and still retain easy access to you afterward, they learn something about your standards. They learn how much can be done to you before consequences appear. That does not mean you must become harsh with everyone. It means your boundaries must be legible. Distance is often the cleanest language. Not grand speeches. Not social revenge. Not emotional closure ceremonies. Just removal. Your life gets lighter when the wrong people lose access. Your circle gets stronger when entertainment at your expense stops being tolerated. And most importantly, your nervous system becomes calmer when it no longer has to keep smiling around people who have already shown you where you stand. So after humiliation, do not only look at the attacker. Look at the audience. The insult tells you who wanted power. The laughter tells you who cannot be trusted when power is in the room. 6. Make them regret underestimating you by becoming unrecognizable in discipline, not theatrical in revenge. When someone humiliates you, there is a natural temptation to picture some dramatic reversal. You imagine the perfect line. The perfect comeback. The perfect future encounter where they finally see what you became and instantly feel smaller. That fantasy is understandable. Humiliation creates unfinished business in the mind. It makes you crave a completed story. But revenge fantasies can become a trap if they remain fantasies. They can keep you emotionally tied to the very person you are trying to outgrow. So the question is not whether you want them to regret it. The question is what kind of regret you are building. Weak people try to create regret through spectacle. Strong people create regret through reality. I had a manager early in my career who humiliated me in front of a team. He interrupted me mid-thought, dismissed an idea before it had been fully explained, and then delivered the kind of line people use when they want to make sure your competence feels publicly questioned. The room laughed just enough to confirm that he had gotten what he wanted. It burned. I felt the heat in my face. I felt that old primal mixture of shame and anger. Anyone who has lived through public disrespect knows it. It is not just emotional. It feels biological. Your body wants to either attack or disappear. I did neither. I kept still. And inside myself, I made a promise that was much more useful than anger: this will not be the chapter that defines me. After that, I stopped chasing approval in that environment and started chasing capability. I studied more aggressively. I volunteered for the ugly work nobody wanted. I learned the parts of the business other people ignored because they were too busy protecting appearances. I became harder to dismiss because I had built weight, not image. That distinction matters in modern workplaces more than most people realize. Offices are full of people managing perception. Meetings are full of strategic personalities. Many careers are built less on competence than on positioning. That is the Machiavellian side of corporate life nobody says out loud. Many people do not want the strongest person in the room. They want the safest hierarchy. So when you get humiliated in environments like that, you have a choice. Either spend your energy resenting the politics, or become so undeniable in value that politics start costing the wrong people more than they help them. A few months later, I closed a difficult piece of work that mattered enough to change how I was seen. And the same manager who had once made me look small had to publicly acknowledge my contribution. He did it with the usual managerial polish, but something had changed. His tone had changed. The room's eyes had changed. My own relationship to his opinion had changed most of all. That was the win. Not because he praised me. Not because the room corrected itself. Because the version of me who once would have been defined by that humiliation no longer existed. That is what I mean when I say make them regret picking on you. Not stuck your progress revenge. Not passive-aggressive posting. Not building your life like one long subtweet. I mean becoming so grounded, so effective, so internally organized, that their insult ages badly in your presence. That kind of regret is different. It is not loud. It does not need confrontation. It simply forces reality on people who mistook your silence for weakness. And the best part is this: disciplined growth heals two things at once. It changes how they see you. And more importantly, it changes how you see yourself. Pain has a memory. Public humiliation especially. If you do not transform it, it tends to become either resentment or avoidance. You become more guarded, more hesitant, more afraid to speak. But when you use it well, the same pain becomes fuel. Not chaotic fuel. Structured fuel. You sharpen your body. You sharpen your standards. You sharpen your habits. You sharpen your attention. You stop looking for easy validation and start building difficult substance. That is where respect comes from in the long run. Not from one victorious exchange, but from becoming a person whose life carries weight. Let them keep their little moment. Take the decade. 7. Stand on standards so clearly that even people who dislike you know exactly where the line is. This is the final point, and it is the most important because it decides whether everything else you do will actually hold. A lot of people talk about boundaries. Very few people have standards. And the difference is consequences. Boundaries without consequences are preferences people learn to ignore. Standards are different. Standards restructure access. When someone humiliates you publicly, what they are really testing is not your mood. It is your self-definition. They are asking, consciously or unconsciously, how much disrespect does this person tolerate before reality changes? Your answer cannot just be emotional. It has to be behavioral. I once had a friend who hid cruelty inside humor. Always smiling. Always, just kidding. Always making sure any insult could be defended as play. He would make comments about appearance, relationships, personal decisions, all with that familiar grin people use when they want immunity from accountability. One day, in front of a group, he joked about something I had told him in confidence. It landed the way these things usually land. A few people laughed because they did not want tension. A few stayed quiet because they knew it was wrong but not enough to risk discomfort. I looked at him and said, calmly, "That is the last time you ever speak to me like that." He laughed. He thought it was heat. He thought it was a line people say when they are upset and then forget by next week. It was not. I meant it. No calls. No casual replies. No repair process for someone who had already been shown the line and stepped over it anyway. I did not spend a month debating whether I was too hard. I did not poll mutual friends like a confused jury. I simply acted as though my dignity was real and therefore expensive. That is what standards do. They take your self-respect out of the emotional realm and put it into structure. Here is why this matters so much after humiliation. First, people test what they do not believe. If someone senses that your boundaries are mostly language, they will keep pushing. They will tease you, diminish you, challenge you, and then monitor whether you are brave enough to interrupt access. The moment they learn there is no consequence, they stop respecting the line. Second, standards create clarity in the room, even among people who do not agree with you. You do not need universal approval. In fact, standards often cost approval. But clarity commands a kind of reluctant respect. People may call you cold, proud, changed, difficult. Let them. Half the time, those words simply mean you are no longer easy to use. Third, standards protect your future self from your present softness. There will always be a part of you that wants to smooth things over, avoid conflict, stay light, keep history intact. Standards exist so that momentary loneliness does not rewrite long-term self-worth. This is especially difficult in a culture that glorifies endless tolerance. People will tell you to be the bigger person when what they really mean is, please make this easier for everyone else. But being the bigger person does not mean becoming morally available to anyone who wounds you. Sometimes the bigger person is simply the person with enough self-command to walk away cleanly. And yes, you will lose people this way. Good. Not everyone deserves to come with you. When you raise your standards, a strange thing happens. Some people drift away because they can no longer get cheap access. Some resent you because your clarity exposes their lack of it. Some call you arrogant because your refusal to be reduced reminds them of their own compromises. That is fine. Respect is not always warm. Sometimes it arrives as caution. Sometimes it arrives as distance. Sometimes it arrives in the form of people realizing they cannot speak to you the way they used to. That still counts. So if someone humiliates you publicly, do not only ask, how should I respond to this moment? Ask, what does this moment reveal about the standard I need to enforce from now on? Because in the end, the deepest form of regained respect is not making one person feel foolish. It is becoming unmistakable. Unmistakable in how you carry yourself. Unmistakable in how you speak. Unmistakable in what you allow. Unmistakable in what happens when the line is crossed. That is how social predators lose interest. That is how observers change their assumptions. That is how your life becomes quieter, stronger, cleaner. The truth is, you do not regain respect after humiliation by rushing to repair your image. You regain it by rebuilding your center so thoroughly that your image becomes a side effect of substance. Let them laugh. Let them perform. Let shallow people bond over shallow moments. While they stay trapped in the cheap economy of attention, you move into something they cannot fake: discipline, standards, self-command, and a life that no longer depends on public approval to feel whole. That is the real reversal. Not that they suddenly become good people. Not that the room apologizes. Not even that you get closure in the way you once imagined. The real reversal is that the moment that was supposed to shrink you becomes the moment that clarified you. You stop begging to be seen correctly by people committed to seeing you cheaply. You stop explaining yourself to those who benefit from misunderstanding you. You stop confusing politeness with self-respect. You stop mistaking reaction for strength. And slowly, then all at once, you become different. Calmer. Harder to provoke. More selective. Less available to nonsense. More anchored in your own standards than in the room's shifting opinion. That is what people eventually respect, even if they never say it out loud. And that is what manipulative people fear most. A person they can no longer move. So the next time someone tries to humiliate you, remember this. Do not rush to defend your pride in the language of the crowd. Do not hand shallow people your nervous system. Do not confuse one bad moment with your true weight. Go quiet. Get sharper. Remove access where necessary. Speak clearly when needed. Build relentlessly. Stand on standards. And let time expose what the moment could not. Because the strongest response to humiliation is not noise. It is becoming someone whose silence has structure, whose discipline has memory, and whose life eventually says what words never could. And when that happens, respect returns in the only form that lasts. Not as applause, but as the absence of disrespect.